to Clinch with Greg Nelson Team Academy, where we tackle and grapple everything martial arts. First off, I want to give all of our props to Zebra Mats at zebramats.com, Eric Paulson at ericpaulson.com, Professor Pedro Sauer, pedrosauer.com, right, and inasanto.com, and the Thai Boxing Association at thaiboxing.com. And, of course, the Academy, MN.
Alrighty, so today we had thought of the idea that we would discuss martial arts goals as you age. And so as a first step, I thought we should talk a little bit about what do you guys think is the best way to set goals?
Well, you know, I don't do it much different than before, but now, obviously, before we'd set kind of some really stellar goals because we push each other really super hard. Now it's like, okay, I want to, you know, improve, but at the same time, because the body doesn't heal as fast, if you push yourself super hard, you wore down maybe for the rest of the day. You know, you can't do the same thing, so your goals have to change. So right now, for me, I want to try to get like 2 hard grapples in a week. You know, sometimes it only becomes 1, but you know, I don't have to do it every single day hard. But my goal is sometimes now, you know, I want to be in shape, but also it has to be in shape to teach the martial arts and to put on a good class and not be exhausted for that. So you're still learning how to, you know, teach, and you're still pushing yourself, but you just have to do it at a lesser intense pace, not as often.
Yeah, I find myself doing things to recover. You know, working on my sleep, trying to improve my sleep, and working on diet and doing things just to help me feel better. Because like you said, you just feel terrible when you go so hard. You got to recover. So it's not like it was.
So you're thinking about like short-term goals. Do you guys write those down, or do you focus more on writing down, or do you have another system for keeping track of what you're trying to do? Do you record it, or I don't know?
I write down my goals, but I also have a coach I talk to every single week, so I'm held accountable now. And so I have to write my goals, what I accomplished, what I didn't accomplish for the week, what I wanted to, and then why wasn't I able to, what got in the way, what do I got to eliminate, you know? And sometimes, you know, if I train super hard and I just push myself, well, that afternoon, the mental energy is not the same, and I may not be able to write as much as I wanted to write. And sometimes I just want to sit down on the couch and just be like, okay, I got to recover. So I got to think about, okay, how is this workout session or training session today going to affect the rest of my day? That's why on Fridays I really push myself hard, because I use that Fridays kind of if I go back home and I feel really good and I feel like getting a bunch of stuff done, I'll go for it. But if I just want to relax, I'll relax. And it's kind of that free day for me. So I kind of work my day around that. But I write down my goals, and then I'm kind of, you know, kept accountable on them.
Right now I'm doing like one hard day, and then the next day I'm doing stuff to recover. So I'm not doing more than one harder day in a row. So
What was really kind of cool is my coach, because she asked me, at first, of course, they have no clue because she doesn't know what we do, how hard we push ourselves. You know, you got a bunch of 25 to 30-year-olds, and, you know, they're 20, 30 years younger than you, and they're pushing super hard, and you're keeping up with them, and you're pushing and pushing and pushing. And she kind of goes, oh, you got 30-minute workout in? I go, yeah, 30-minute workout. You know, and then she finally said something that really helped. She goes, well, why don't you do something like walk for a half hour?
Mm-hmm.
Which at first I always thought that would be kind of a waste of time. I thought,
I'm doing the same thing with my dog.
It's totally not. It rejuvenates you, and it opens up your mind to think better. And a lot of times I have great ideas when I'm walking around. And so just doing that, it's almost like a walking meditation where I'm just kind of not forcing myself to do anything. There's no agenda to it. It's just walking.
I pull weeds.
Yeah, pull weeds. Hey.
The weeds are like your life's problems.
Yeah.
It's really meditating to get out there. And
It's awesome.
it's very satisfying to
No.
rip them right out at the root.
I would have never thought of walking as
Neither have I.
really therapeutic, but man, I look forward to it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I meditate now. What I do is I have a chi machine. It's the thing that kind of shakes your legs back and forth, so it loosens up my hips and it kind of gets my core. And I just sit there and just totally relax. And again, that rejuvenates me for the next whatever I'm going to do, next project. Whether I'm writing or trying to put together curriculum that I'm going to teach for the week or whatever it might be, it just rejuvenates me. So there's a lot of, like Nat was saying, finding things that rejuvenate your body now. Diet and sleep, which, you know, I've been a big enemy of sleep for years. And now, you know, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And water, drinking a lot of water. And because for many years I didn't drink a lot of water because for whatever reason I had some kind of a psychological, because when I had cancer it all tasted like metal, like there was aluminum in my water. So I had to have flavor. Now I just can drink water again. So I drink a lot more water and that makes me feel better. So there's so many things you can do to rejuvenate yourself that have to, for me, I have to write them down because if I don't, I won't do them because it's not a habit yet. So it's like anything else, it has to become a habit.
I have a meditation app that has kept me, it actually got me back into doing meditation, and I love it. It's great. So that can help keep you on track too.
Yeah.
Like the little technology.
When do you do that?
Every morning for about 15 minutes. And then I wanna branch it out into, sometimes I do it in the afternoon, but then I want to add more, like one more at night too, because it changes my whole day.
Right. So one of the things that, you know, when I look at us and I think about our trajectory, we have always maintained a mindset of doing daily training for fun, right? And what I see a lot of times with other people who focus almost exclusively on competition is that they stop training. And I guess as you age, if you haven't really developed this just training for the purpose of everyday health and energy, you're really going to start to lose focus of what you're trying to do. And I don't know if you guys had noticed that at all, or if you had.
I started out as doing martial arts, and I didn't even care about competition. So for me, the whole martial arts, you know, philosophy and aspect of martial arts, I love the whole process. So, and competition came kind of later, but I did feel a huge letdown when I kind of moved away from competition.
Yeah,
like a big letdown. And
it's
I think
hard
for a lot of athletes,
and to push that hard too, right? You're used to pushing yourself physically that hard. You want to push yourself
be able
that hard.
to do it, and it's very hard to let go of that. And I still definitely struggle with that, but you know, I'm trying to get back a little bit more to those roots of what I grew up with. You know, before there was so much fighting, and I think, Coach, you were similar. Before there was all the fighting and everything, you just loved martial arts.
Yeah, it was all about training. I loved the process of training. I loved pushing myself. I loved almost seeing how far I could go and see if it could, one more step, one more round. Let's do this now. So I always loved that challenge of pushing myself. And then we had the opportunity where competition came up. I started, you know, really martial arts because I wanted to just know how to fight better. You know, just bottom line. And then I fell in love with the martial arts because then we started doing the Filipino Kali and Jianfan martial arts and Wing Chun, which a lot of this stuff doesn't translate directly into a street fight, but it's training your attributes, which comes about. It's all about a mindset anyways, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have the right attitude and the right mindset, you could have the toughest and most deadly techniques in the world and still get your ass kicked all the time because you just don't have that mentality. But at the same time, you can't just think about the fight, because then it becomes a mental grind.
Yep.
And so you just got to have fun with it. And that's, for me, mine was a little bit different in the way that you know, nature kind of took me out of the competition game.
Yeah.
So I was, you know, cancer. So that became my new opponent.
Would you say that everything after cancer kind of became just sort of icing on the cake? I mean, your ability to just even get back in there and train, you're just able to do what you could do when you came back, and you were just thankful to be on the mat.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, it wasn't like this gradual, you know, I used to be an athlete and now I can't do anything. You had everything taken away.
yeah, as I always say, I became the person I used to make fun of. You know, because I was like, I remember coming back and trying to do a shrimp, and I was the guy that's feet slipped and nothing moved. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm that guy.
Yeah.
And I had to relearn how to do a lot of things. And at first, it was really frustrating because prior to cancer, I was always really dominant. And now I was, you know, just learning as a beginner again. And it became an entirely different process. But in the end, it helped me become a better instructor because it gave me empathy. Before I didn't have that same, I didn't have any, I don't think any empathy. I'd be like, how in the heck can this person not do this? Now I'm like, I get 100% why this person can't do this. And it gave me new ways to teach things that before I would have just taken for granted. Now I had to relearn how to do it. I had to figure it out. And so that helped me get new ways to help people that weren't great athletes. And that kind of changed my whole mindset. Because then it was like, you know, people who need the martial arts are the people who don't have the natural talent, who aren't great athletes, who are, you know, dealing with confidence issues. And
Right.
and when I came back, I had to deal with all those, because imagine you were always at the top of the food chain, and all of a sudden you're at the bottom, and it's like at first it was like, now we can get them, let's go after them, and it happened, and I was just like, oh man, this is a hard climb, but it was great, it was worth it because of the martial art mindset, you know.
Right. So if you were talking to a student that was, you know, coming back from something pretty intense like that, like an intense injury or cancer or sickness or disease, or also the aging process, what kind of tips do you have for those people
Biggest thing is I
to
always
stay motivated?
You know, for me it's like you don't push the river, because if a person was a former athlete and then they've been out of it for a long time, or a former athlete and then coming back from an injury, your brain still wants to push hard.
Mm-hmm.
And now your body's not able, and then you get injured again. So I said, no, you just have fun with the process. Just look at it for what it is. And I always bring up Guru Dan, you know, to them and say, listen, here's Guru Dan who's now 85 years old, and he's now learning how to wrestle with Kenny Johnson, and he's doing multiple privates a week with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he just met this new Cambodian boxer,
Mm-hmm.
and he just does it because he loves it. He loves just the training. He's not going to go out there and whoop up on and start sparring and have him do this. No, he's just enjoying the process. He loves how it makes him feel. And in his process, in his mind, he said, well, I know that if I stop, that's when things are going to start to end. So I'm just going to keep going until it's over.
Yeah.
Just have fun. Enjoy it.
I think you have to be really careful
Yeah, I think
who
you have to,
you go with.
who you go with and how fast you go.
Yep. And the speed. You don't realize how fast you used to go until you go with somebody half your age. You're like, man, I can't keep up. And I think that's where the injuries can happen. And that's also too, if someone else doesn't understand where you're at, if they have no clue what it's like to actually be injured or be older,
Right.
that can be tough. You know, they don't know.
Yeah. I think what I've learned is that despite my inner desire to push myself, that I have to not feel embarrassed or shameful about sitting out
Yeah.
and watching. You can learn a lot by watching too. And some of the schools that I've been to over the years, the schools are so physically small that not everybody can go.
Right. Right.
And I learned, you know, there that just sitting and watching people go, I can actually learn quite a bit too. So
I also
it can be helpful to not only physically to set out and watch people train, but it can be good for your own training as well.
I think it's important that culture is instilled in the training on the mat. That, like, look, there's 50-year-old dudes over here. There's there's older people over here. This person was injured. you have a person who was injured really, really badly at one point, and everybody help that person. Everybody understands what they need to do when they work with them.
Yeah. Yeah. So a great culture like a team spirit really,
For sure.
really helps.
Well, I remember even back in the day, there was people like Sean Shirk, who I could put with an absolute beginner white belt. And I'd look over and Sean Shirk would be tapping, letting the person armbar him, because he knew, well, I could demolish this person, but I don't need to. It was the same thing with Pat Barry sparring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could put him with anybody, and he could, literally kick their body and break it in half. But he had never hit anybody hard that was just a regular student. And then I remember he would even go, okay, to the fighters, watch your leg today. I'm going to snap at it, or I'm going to get your liver. And so he would play that game because he knew that his power base was so much higher that if he just was to go smash him down, there'd be no one left to train.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I can remember training with Ishmael when I was a blue belt, and he would stay just ahead of me in a lot of the goes, and that helped motivate,
Yeah.
It wasn't so much that I couldn't handle it all the
Right.
time, even though he could. And I felt like I learned a lot, and so I try to mirror that to the students that I train with.
Well, he's
now.
actually thinking about your
Yeah.
growth
it
as
helped.
well, your benefit,
Yeah.
not just his own.
when a lot of times when I'm rolling in the gi with like a student,
Mhm.
a lot of times I'll go to an inferior position, allow them to pass a guard, do whatever. But like on Fridays when it's all the competitors, I go hard.
Yeah. There's a time. There's still a time
I go hard.
You can go hard.
I'll
for
try to tap those bastards out.
Yeah. You just can't do it every single day.
Nope, because I'd be just broken.
Yeah,
I've
for
had
your
4
body,
knee
yeah.
surgeries, and my ankle's wrecked from relearning how to walk, and there's a lot of injuries in the body. But because I remember Professor Sauer said this, he goes, always put your body in a position that if someone was to drop all their weight on it, it would act like a spring, not like a piece of steel that's ready to break.
True.
And that has really helped me keep my knees in the right position, and I don't really get my body all twisted up and in a weird position under somebody. I'm always trying to reestablish a position that my body will move normally, not being twisted, not being torqued, especially because I don't want to have another knee surgery.
So you do that once a week, but do you ever save a little bit of energy for the next training session? Do you ever train to the point where you not to a total failure, so that you have a little bit of energy?
Oh, for sure.
More often now than when we were
Yeah,
at
well,
a younger age.
I
right?
think when we were younger, we could push ourselves
Just
really hard,
anything.
and then we'd recover, and then we'd be able to do it again. But there was always times when we were drilling still that we would do more drilling type stuff. Even in collegiate wrestling, there's a large part of practice that revolves around drilling and sparring, which they consider like timing wrestling. That'd be like timing sparring, as opposed to just live goes all the time, because that's where people get injured. So there's a balance. You have to have a balance.
Yeah,
But
you can spend a lot more time in that mode, and when you spend more time, you learn more.
Yeah, that's why the difference between hard sparring and timing sparring, when you could do timing sparring and spend 20 rounds in front of somebody, go hard sparring and you're doing 5-6 rounds and you're getting blasted and you're not willing to try new things, you're getting hit hard, great case in point was one of the guys was getting ready for a fight, so he came in and went really hard with another fighter, so it was like, and wham, the other fighter got hit in the head. And for 2 days, he couldn't train really hard because he basically was like probably concussed.
Yeah.
So he couldn't train really hard. He'd come in and just be like, I got to go slow today. And you go, wow, imagine if you wouldn't have sparred hard, you would have had probably the next 2 weeks probably wasn't perfect for him. Wasn't as hard as he could have pushed. But if you would have timing sparred and played the game a little bit more, controlled, you would have another 2 weeks of really good training. And I think there's a big difference between competitive training and just training for the sake of training and having fun with it. When you have something coming up, like in a fight camp or a competition, now everything gets ramped up, the intensity gets ramped up, but you can't keep that pace up indefinitely because you'll just break down, your body will fall apart. And that's why we always tell the fighters, even after the fights, take a couple days, recover your nervous system from all the adrenaline and endorphins and all that other stuff, and then come back and you're rejuvenated and you've been able to reflect on the fights a little bit. And so, that's important.
Definitely. Well, got any last words?
Train hard, but get a lot of rest.
Yeah, I'd say biggest thing is train smart, and that's one of the things that's even going around athletic-wise is training smart. Knowing, I tell you, one person that was excellent at that was Brock Lesnar. He knew his body, and he would come in and say, "Hey guys, we can go kind of hard, but today I'm feeling this and feeling that," and he knew that because he pushed. When he pushed hard, and if he wasn't 100% and did that, he knew he'd probably risk injury. So he was really smart. He brought in the guy that would warm him up, and then the guy that would do his strength training, and he'd be warming up for 20, 30 minutes before we even started going hard, so his body was totally prepared. And he was very adamant about having the program set for the day and not just tacking on stuff because we thought you had to push him harder. Because he goes, "Don't worry, I'll be pushing myself hard enough."
Right. So the rest and recovery is that's a weapon too.
Yes. Yeah, big time.
Absolutely.
So.
Cool.
All right. So again, remember to rate us on iTunes and share the podcast with your friends and social media like Facebook and all the other stuff. And contact us at info@theacademymn.com or on Twitter or Facebook at Greg Nelson.